What do you know about the YouTuber Andrew Blaze or his legal name, Randy Stair?
Literally nothing. I have no idea who that is.
Me too, until earlier. I had never heard this name before, and I was watching. For you guys watching, you'll see it on the screen here. I have it written down somewhere in here. I have so many notes on this because this thing literally blew me away, you guys, okay? So he was a YouTuber. He was 24 years old. He had roughly about 10,000 followers back in this day. So he's not huge. He's not like one of the leading people, but he was making his way, okay? And he was starting to get recognized for some bigger names. And
What kind of content did he do?
his content was like so his YouTube career was focused on Pioneer Productions in 2008, okay? It is reaction content gamer creator. He did skits, he did things like that, and he had a heavy focus on an animated series here, okay? So from all of his viewers and everything, he seemed like a good guy, you know? He was, he gives me the impression that he's just like that classic emo kid, you know? He was real skinny, real lanky, real about his feelings, open about his feelings, sharing about, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it falls in line with the emo kid style, you know what I mean? So he was trying to make YouTube his actual career. He wanted that to be his actual career, but started realizing that it wasn't bringing in enough money. So he ended up getting a job at a local supermarket where he ended up working there for like 7 years. But in taking a few steps back here, in 2003, Randy Stair, aka Andrew Blaze, life changed. And this is so strange, you guys. So in 2003, Randy Stair, and aka Andrew Blaze, started watching Danny Phantom. Do you know what Danny Phantom is? The cartoon.
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, he quickly became obsessed with Danny Phantom, okay? And yep, Danny Phantom is aka Danny Winton, and it is a cartoon about this guy who had become a human ghost hybrid when something went wildly wrong, and there was some kind of accident, and he became able to transfer between real life and like the ghost life, okay? And he became obsessed with this. And as he's watching the show, he comes upon an episode, or maybe multiple episodes, I'm not sure, of this character Ember McLean, okay? Did you ever watch the show? You know who this is?
I mean, I've seen it. It wasn't like something I watched.
So she's just a character, just a female character who's like this punk rocky attitude, power hungry musician who hates authority. And he said, and I'll post pictures here as we're going through it to you guys, but he said that really strange. He felt like he made a connection with this character, like he has known this character his entire life. Yeah.
A cartoon?
Like a cartoon. A true bond, he said. And he said that this character changed his life forever. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. And like this becomes the basis of this entire situation. It's really strange. So he was obsessed with this cartoon, and he ended up creating his own spin-off called Ember's Ghost Squad, and it was surrounded around Ember McLean, this character, okay? And you guys will see, of course, Ember McLean as we're talking about this. So he became focused on creating this animated series and doing his YouTube videos. And how I know all this too, I guess I should say here in this disclaimer is, as we're talking through and working through these crimes, this kid here made a large group of video journal entries that ended up going live after this horrible, horrible, horrible crime. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So this is really him talking about these things, you guys. And I'll post the YouTube channel again. They have a lot of these videos on there, live videos on there of this person talking through some of this journaling, and it was really, really, really interesting. So he goes on to say that when he was in high school, he started struggling and having issues with friends, and he could never get like a good solid group of friends, always wanted friends. And again, just going back to that classic emo kid mentality, you know?
Yeah.
So he started creating a bond between his viewers and his YouTube videos, and that really became his friendship group, which we've seen time and time and time again.
That happens countless times for sure.
Time and time and time again. Well, during all of this time, he started realizing he had become more and more and more obsessed with death, you guys. And he self-admits that he had been obsessing about death and what it's like in the afterlife, what it's like after you die. He even got to a point where he started hating the elderly. Okay? Yeah.
Oh.
And I think because the elderly are like a sign of the end of your life. So it became a situation where he was like scared of dying, but also infatuated with it, all at the same time, which is kind of strange, but
it is strange, very strange.
Especially to obsess on it in the way that he did, okay? Well, everything seemed to be going okay. He was doing his anime, he was doing his YouTube videos and everything. And then two major things changed. His brother's friend, Tom, died in a car crash. Now, this is the first time that I can see when I was reading and doing research on this that he actually had an encounter with death in his life, okay? Well, this situation changed him. And
it was just his brother's friend?
It was his brother's friend who just on the way to school, like everything was okay, went, you know, straight into a tree and dead before he reached the hospital, okay? So I think if I'm making my assumption here, it's just he already had an infatuation with the afterlife, just seeing how easy it was to go from life to death, I think was a major change for him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So then a couple years late, actually a year later, I believe, he had a second friend, Matt, who also died in a car accident. So 2 deaths. And he had tons of journal entries about these two situations, how it changed him. Again, everything I'm saying here is directly from him, but one of his journal entries specifically says, Tom's death sucked the life out of me. Matt's death killed me. So soon after those two situations, Randy gets in a car accident himself. So it was like 3 car accidents back to back to back, except with his, he didn't pass. Okay. But I think because of those 2 original events, you know, that just further created he was already feeling like unstable about life and death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, I think that just put like a magnifying glass on the situation, if I had to guess. And this is where we really see him start to change, okay? So he has this obsession, you guys. And when I say obsession, I mean obsession with this cartoon. And he goes so far to create Twitter accounts for each one of the animated characters that he has, and he creates conversation between them on Twitter. He starts posting like really, really dark things, and I'm not going to put the name because I don't want to promote it, but his one of his animated series or shows that he was doing was centered around a school shooting. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Now, his viewers just felt like it was an art form, okay? It was just really dark, emo, anime, show type material where, like, you know, how sometimes you can highlight the dark and destructive and you're not meaning like you really want to do that or act that out. It's looked at as an art form. You know what I mean?
Expression, yeah.
Yep, as personal expression. Well, it's right around this time he starts saying things like, you know, I believe in the goddess, and I swear to the goddess, I pray to the goddess. Now, when he's saying these things, he's talking about that character.
The cartoon character from Danny Phantom.
The cartoon character from Danny Phantom, Ember McLean, okay? And we see multiple videos of him in his room where he's just covered with pictures around them.
Where is his family?
I hear you. I don't know.
Why
I don't
is
know.
he
It does
not in a psychiatric ward?
It doesn't touch on that. By all accounts, he looks like a normal guy. There are people who left accounts on there, and they say he was a really nice, normal kid. However, okay, you guys got to remember this part. He had like 10,000 subscribers. There's 10,000 eyes, sets of eyes on him that could have seen some of these things. His parents could have seen some of these things. He was a 24-year-old man. Somebody should have seen these things, okay?
Yeah.
So he starts... his beliefs start evolving, okay? And when you're listening to me say this, there's going to be a little bit of a disconnect of the image that I think most people are painting in their the image people are painting in their head about him, because what I'm saying here sounds so off and so wild. But if you watch the videos, and I'll cut in a couple videos here so everyone can understand what exactly he was like. He looked normal. Everything seemed normal, like he was put together. He just had these really weird beliefs, okay? Now, it's going to get even stranger. So, he believed that there were multiple realities, okay? Like a string theory.
Okay.
And that one of the realities was an anime reality. And that when you die, you go to another one of these realities.
Like Danny Phantom?
Like Danny Phantom.
Okay.
That's correct.
He believed in the show like a religion.
He did.
And that girl character was the goddess.
He did. Okay, now through these videos, we see him start to struggle with his gender and gender expression.
Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that.
I didn't either. So he believed that he was female. His soul was female, and that he was born in a man's body, and that he was born in a man's body to come here and be put through these struggles and do things to grow as a soul, as a person, to be able to then be reborn into this cartoon character, back into his true self.
Oh, so that was him.
That was
So he
him.
wasn't obsessed with her in like a sexual way. He was obsessed with her
like
as
a
in
BFF.
he
like
was
her. He was an equal to
like
her.
that is me.
Well, he didn't believe that was her. That was him. He believed he was this other character.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but he believed they were all going to be in one universe, I guess. Yeah, really, really wild stuff, you guys. Once I started watching the videos, his journaling, I could not stop. Just because it was so wild. I just wish someone would have been there for this kid.
Yeah.
I feel like if he would have had friends, if he would have had contacts, if he would have had somebody next to him to call him on his BS, if he would have had therapy, if he would have had any kind of other human real life connection.
To break the delusion.
To break the delusion.
Like, he doesn't know what reality is.
Exactly. And that's what we're seeing here. So remember, before this happened too, he held a job in a supermarket for 7 years straight, working directly with other people, and everything seemed to be fine. He didn't have any weird charges of aggression, of assaults, of taking advantage of people.
So he had no prior criminal history at all.
No complaints, not just criminal history, no complaints, nothing. And everyone who knew him said he was a nice kid. When you're watching the videos, he seems like a nice kid, but you just start to see these cracks, like in these beliefs, and it slowly evolves over time where these beliefs just take over more and more and more of him, to where you can see in the last 30 days, he's broken. He's broken, and he's openly talking about his plans, okay? Now, he truly believed he was not meant to go past the age of 30. So he started developing a plan that was like 4 years of ending himself. Yep, to go...
To die slow?
No, of ending himself to go into his true female cartoon form. Now,
so it was 4 years of planning.
4 years of planning.
Oh, okay.
And different things changed. He had made a video at one time and posted on YouTube saying that he was going to be stopping YouTube because he's not going to be able to post videos anymore because he's not going to be around anymore. And then he got a huge reaction from his viewers, and that made him push off his plan and continue his YouTubing. And you see him in one cut shot of these journals saying, it's so ridiculous that there has to be some kind of drama, some kind of big issue for anybody to pay attention to anybody. I had told my fans that I wasn't going to be around anymore, and then I got a ton of attention, and people started wanting to talk to me and be there for me and all these things. Like, this kid was just asking for help. He was screaming out for help and for people to pay attention to him.
Yeah, he wanted acceptance. He wanted love. He wanted connection.
He wanted to be noticed. He wanted to be noticed, yeah. And he was a really smart kid, and he developed this plan over years. And in these journals, you can see the countdown of days to this horrible situation, okay? Now, a couple things to highlight is some of his descriptions of himself is he was a self-proclaimed racist. He was a self-proclaimed homophobe. While simultaneously admitting that he watched Onision obsessively until Onision, it sounded like until he started getting in trouble. And he was like, one of the weird things is I watched Onision, and then when he started cross-dressing and doing those weird things, that's really where I was like, I can't really watch this guy anymore.
But he thought he was a woman.
But in the same sentence that he just says that, he says, but that's weird, because in my own time when I was alone, I was cross-dressing too. And I can't really explain that, and I don't understand it. So, there's some sort of level of hatred of self there, okay? You can see it through this whole thing. You can see that he was just begging for attention, begging for people to notice. And he started this huge plan of, like, leaving tips everywhere of what he was going to do, okay? And looking back on it, we can see it where he was trying to get attention from his parents. With the cross-dressing thing, it started where he was hiding a girl's razor and like Skintimate lotion stuff for shaving in his room. And then he moved it to the bathroom out in the open to see if anybody would notice. A female razor and the female body. I said the same thing. I said the same thing. I've met tons of people in my life that are guys that prefer women's razors for whatever reason. I've met women that prefer men's razors for whatever reason. So I just think that he was a kid battling between himself and his frontal lobe, his unformed frontal lobe,
He was 24.
He was 24. Yeah.
Yeah, unformed frontal lobe.
Your frontal lobe doesn't
That's like
finish
okay, but
developing.
it's almost there.
I
Like
mean, it's between,
you have to be held accountable
it's between
at a certain
27
point.
and 30. Frontal lobe doesn't make you not held accountable.
Okay, it's just
at all.
It's just weird. Like he's 24.
Yeah. 24 without the logic to be able to understand exactly what's going on in this life situation.
I feel like there's a lot more going on than just not a fully formed frontal lobe.
Of course. I just think that's one of those things here in not being able to. So he was intelligent enough to realize that that other people would look at these things and think, hey, there's something wrong here. Okay. But he was undeveloped enough, whether it was an emotional development, whether it was frontal lobe development, whatever, to be able to hold himself accountable and realize that, this is not reality. There's something wrong here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to an extent, I feel like, did he ever have any kind of diagnosis at all?
Not based on anything that we can find.
He was never talked to a mental health professional ever.
He wasn't. And this is what's really sad, too, is do I feel like the parents should have been there, should have seen this? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. And I think if the parents would have been paying attention to some of the stuff that he was posting online, like the anime of these characters saying really horrible things, talking about how they're going to do a school shooting and all this stuff, like, look, I understand the artistic value in that if that is your approach, but there's a difference between doing it because you're falsely acting out a situation that you have interest in doing, or doing it because it's an artist's expression of the horrible state that we've seen these school shooting situations and society in.
Or like a personal fear. Or, there's a lot of ways somebody could incorporate that into art. That doesn't mean that that's like a fantasy of theirs.
No, absolutely. But the questions do need to be asked.
So he was an adult at this point, so I don't know how responsible they are, but I feel like he was living in their house, right?
He was living in their house, yep. He was living in their house.
He's still their child, and he's living there, and for them not to see, like...
No. I don't think they're responsible.
No, not responsible, but I feel
they should have noticed.
There's a level of personal responsibility, like, if I was that negligent, where I didn't pay attention to people living in my own house to see that they were that delusional and out of this world, not in reality, like, and then they committed a crime that was horrific, I would totally have some, like, feel like I had personal responsibility. Like, how did I not notice that?
I think there is some personal accountability there, but personal accountability. Right. I don't think they're responsible. I do not think they're responsible. I don't think a frontal lobe is any reason why he doesn't hold all the responsibility here. But when there's people around somebody that's going through such a horrible break, such a horrible situation where they believe that they're going to die and become a cartoon character, that's not reality. There's something going on there. And for nobody around him to notice, for none of his 10,000 viewers to notice, I just think there's a big opportunity there for us to say, we can do better, okay? The parents could have done better. The viewers could have done better. He talked explicitly about this situation online, okay? So, one other thing to note, too, is he was obsessed with the Columbine shootings. Obsessed, okay? He was very active on many forums about the Columbine shootings, and he actually wore a shirt that one of the shooters had worn. That said natural selection, and he would wear it all the time, okay?
That's gross.
Yeah, it is gross, and nobody noticed. Nobody said anything.
That's insane.
I'm telling you.
How was he just so invisible to everyone in his life?
I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even his viewers, I don't understand it, okay? So, where this all accumulates to. Okay, let's get into what it was. So June 9th, now that everybody has a really clear picture of who this kid is, or man, or I feel like based on how he was acting, he still appears as a kid to me, okay?
Hey, one thing I want to mention, his viewers were probably all kids.
Maybe.
That's probably why.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
I don't
go
know.
ahead.
But so June 9th, okay? This was a 4-year plan in the making, you guys. He had everything planned out. He had reached out to one of his viewers and asked them to live stream something for him, and had everything set up, okay? Now, 2 days before this, he is seen on a video flipping a quarter and says, you know, this is the coin flip to decide whether this is going to be done at home. And he's saying that just himself, or this is fate deciding whether it's going to be at the supermarket. So he flips the coin and it lands on the supermarket. And he says, wow, that's really eye-opening. That's going to involve a loss of life, other life, you know. And he said, well, you know, that's fate. So I'm not going to go into the details of how he gets the guns, but he gets 2 guns, okay? Identical guns, 2 Mossberg 500 shotguns, and has like the Riot handle on it and everything. And June 9th comes, and he's a night stalker at the supermarket that he's worked at for 7 years, you guys. 7 years working with these people. And I don't know if you guys know this, but night stalkers put in headphones when they're working, and they just get their stuff done. The quicker you can get done, the quicker you can get out of there, okay? So he's there with 4 other people, and he's there with a 25-year-old Victoria, 47-year-old Brian, 63-year-old Terry, and 25-year-old Kristen. And as the night goes on, he keeps pulling away, and this footage is so spooky, you guys. As he walks away and does whatever he's doing, he goes outside and pulls his car up to the front and pulls the duffel bag with the 2 guns out and the shotgun shells. He slowly will do his job and then pull away, and this is all being videotaped, you guys, and locks every exit in there, and none of these 4 people notice, okay? And this is done over a matter of hours. And then right before he does this crime, he starts live streaming it. Okay, and he has the live stream on his chest, and you can see him walking through the supermarket, looking down all the aisles, looking down on the aisles.
With a gun in his hand or no?
With a shotgun in his hand. Yep, with a shotgun in his hand. And just before this part happens, he posts his journals describing and detailing all of this, where he's talking openly about his plan for the last couple years, how he gets the guns, how his connection is with these anime characters and that he created, how he planned this, why he's doing it. Like
manifesto.
Very, we're talking hours, probably 100 hours or more of this footage, okay? So back to the scene here. He finds an aisle finally where there are 2 of his coworkers there, the 2 women, Victoria and Kristen, and they both have headphones in, blaring. He walks up behind them and shoots Victoria dead, okay? Drops multiple shots into her, and Kristen hears like pop, 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 and a thud, and then pulls out the headphones and realizes what's going on, and they meet eye to eye, and literally just stand there looking at each other, and nothing happens. They stand there for 5 seconds, and for whatever reason, you guys, no idea why, she doesn't know why, nobody knows why, he walks away. He walks to another aisle where he finds Brian and Terry and ends them. Multiple shots, okay? So, like, a brief rundown here. He ended up unloading, like, let me see here, I think it was like 50 shots or 59 bullets fired, okay, total in this scene. Now, when Kristen runs away, okay, she is in there hiding while the other 2 people are ended, and eventually gets out the front door, is able to squeeze around the pallets, and shoulder like bust out the front door and run outside, call 911, and hide behind a bush until they get there. While she was doing that, he was running around shooting propane tanks, trying to get the place to burn up and blow up and whatever. And it didn't, but he eventually walked into the meat market area, turned the gun on him, and fired, ending himself. So 4 people lost their life that night. Nobody knows why Krista made it out. I mean, I'm glad she did in this situation, but this was a horrible, horrific situation, you guys.
I wonder if it was just looking her in the eyes. Because maybe he didn't look any of the other people in the eyes. Like, meeting her eye to eye, looking in her eyes, like, maybe that was just too much.
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there. I was sitting here after I got done watching it and thinking that too, like, why her? And he had a journal entry in one of his, like, handwriting journals that said, you know, he really likes her and he's sorry this has to be done, but, you know, it's just part of the plan. And he ended up turning away or whatever, and I think you're right. I think it humanized her, because when you look at the 3 other people that he ended, he did it from a distance that you wouldn't have been able to even see, like, you know, their eyes, really. You just would have seen the outline of eyes. And gosh, this is just a crazy story.
She was probably just nice to him, and then when he looked her in the eyes, he was like, no.
Yeah.
He probably justified it in his head, like, you're not part of the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. And
like some weird craziness.
The other creator that has all these videos posted, like their whole video is just snaps of him talking and everything, is Explore With Us. They're huge. They're a huge channel, like 4 or 5 million subs, but their work is incredible, and that's like the work we're gonna strive to get to, except more commentary. But so they have this on there. You just need to go onto their channel. I suggest you subscribe to them, and they have all of these videos, you guys, hundreds of hours cut down into smaller bits. And let me tell you, it is some of the most eerie content I've seen. Just understanding his buy-in here with these characters, watching his evolution into insanity, and then seeing how many people could have caught this, should have caught this. 10,000 subscribers overall, multiple social media accounts, his parents who lived with him under the same roof, friends, the person that he asked to live stream for him, all these people, you guys, like, oh man, it blows my mind.
There's just, I feel like, so many ways this could have been prevented if somebody just paid attention.
I agree.
Which makes it the most tragic. Like,
it makes it super hard.
Like, say his audience was all kids. Where were their parents?
Yeah.
Because if I saw my kid, like, watching something like that, or anyone's kid, I would be like, hey, your kid is watching some weird stuff. Like, I think that person should probably be reported.
Yeah. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
And we saw that with the Uber driver we just talked about. We've seen this on, like, time and time again, where I feel like this could have been prevented. And I don't want to take away from the scene, because this is a horrible, horrible situation with multiple victims here. And I'm not trying to blame anyone that was there beforehand, but these things are preventable, okay? We see these signs, and again, we go back to what we were talking about with the Uber driver. I think most people, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think most people would rather say something and be wrong than not say something and have what you thought be right.
Yeah.
Be true.
This was such severe delusion and mental instability that I feel like it would be really hard not to know. I agree.
Everyone's
saying he was normal. There's no way he was actually, like, that normal.
Watching the videos, he was normal. Like, normal enough to work a regular job. Okay, let me explain normal. Normal enough to hold a job, normal enough to have regular conversations with other human beings and interact in normal society in a normal way that wouldn't pop up red flags everywhere. He was normal enough to get through school
Surface
successfully.
level.
He was normal enough to have a YouTube channel and be relatable to at least 10,000 subs. He was, by all accounts, normal and had these beliefs behind closed doors that, just evolved into something so toxic to the point where you have a 24-year-old believing they're going to end themselves and turn into a cartoon character. It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
It's like conspiracy brain on steroids.
Yeah, and it could have been prevented.
Yeah.
And it's super scary. It's super scary.
I
It
wonder
is so
what-
eerie. You got to watch these videos, and you guys do too. Go check out that channel and watch these
Explore
videos.
with Us is amazing.
It is
It's
scary.
a great channel. I used to watch them when it was them going out and doing like on-site stuff, almost
Yeah.
like JLR.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But I think they just like invest. I think they like write up reports and like
Yeah.
a script and have somebody read it now is what I
Yeah.
think they do.
Yeah,
But they
well-
do really good work.
Whatever they do, it was an amazing story, had me locked in and had me creeped out, man, just seeing
There's a lot of creepy
the
stuff on
progression
that
and
channel.
evolution of this kid.
Yeah, I just don't understand what in a person's brain would make them like what switch flips?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like what started it? How was he normal in all other areas of life but thought he could become a cartoon character?
I don't know. It's
I mean, he
wild.
wasn't normal in social, like he didn't
Yeah.
have connections with people in a normal way.
Yeah.
Which clearly contributed to his mental
That's what
illness.
he was missing. Yep. But I'm curious what you guys think
Yeah.
in this situation or with this story. I would love to hear your input here. And this is just a situation where, man, the
It's so
victims.
tragic.
It's so tragic. And the victims here, you guys, you have a 25-year-old, okay, a 47-year-old, and a 63-year-old. All of them too soon, just going to work to do their job, and their loss of life wasn't needed.
Probably to
It's
support
so
their
sad,
families.
dude.
Probably to support their families.
It's so sad. It's so sad. And it could have been prevented, I think. So
I think it could have been too.
if you see something, say something, you guys, and let us know what you think.